Buonasera, I'm Christopher Stewart. Now, it was in around about the time of Halloween, around, I think it was 1984, and we came together in Italy with everybody. Every director that wanted to shoot in Italy was told, go shoot in Italy. All of the problems are gone, the politics are done. We want to shoot as many films possible. Any director is welcome. And in amongst this, they categorized everything because it turned out to be a lot of films that wanted to do, or a lot of directors that wanted to do films based on Edgar Allan Poe and things of this nature. So it got categorized as an Edgar Allan Poe. And then when we realized just what was happening, we called it the Edgar Allan Poe Fest. So what had happened was we had directors from all over the world who came to Italy, and they were all doing films based in the genre of Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, John Sheridan Le Fanu. There were a few others that were categorized within it that were all happening around the same time. Now, because we were all in Italy and we were all doing all these productions, the production company started mixing. And because of that, we started being able to do things like take the extras from, say, Dark Shadows and bring them into a production with Roger Corman. We were able to do things like take me and put me as an extra in like other films done by Britain, done by the United States, and things of this nature. So we just had an absolute great time. The funniest thing about it was some of the speed we were doing. We did something in the neighborhood of 36 films in like 3 days. You have to understand the speed in which we were doing films back then, because we had production companies, we had set builders, we had everything done so fast. And it's not necessarily the low budget, it's just the concept of how fast can you do a production. And we were making complete end runs around everybody's idea of speed. Additionally, Hollywood had almost wanted people to go above and beyond because they were tired of the long production process. They wanted people to be able to do films quicker. They were kind of pushing for that. Roger Corman came in with that concept, and he looked at Mario Bava and he said, just how fast can you do a production? And it turned out that we were doing like hour-and-a-half films in a time span of maybe 2 to 3 hours. So in doing so, we could actually do like 8 films in 24 hours. And we were just having an absolute blast. We really were. The funniest thing was we would sit there and we'd have somebody like Christopher Lee doing a series of lines, and he'd stop and would go, cut. He'd go, what? That was perfect. And then he'd laugh and go, oh, that was the wrong film, because we had been studying like 15 scripts for that particular day or those particular 2 days. And we then reshot it and got everything perfect. But I mean, those were some of the funny bloopers on the entire set. One of the most hilarious things is I talk about the first time that I met Lizette. Actually, she met me before I met her, which is absolutely hilarious, because we were doing the production of The Fall of the House of Usher. Now, in The Fall of the House of Usher, of course, I was using the stage name of Mark Damon, because Mark lended me his name so that there wouldn't be a conflict of a non-star starring in a production. And when I was doing that production, we were bringing on to set the extras from Dark Shadows who were going to work in the production of, I believe it was the Haunted Mansion, Roger Corman's version of The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. And we had shot the production, we were in the middle of shooting the production of The Fall of the House of Usher, and the extras came in, and they were making all this noise. And I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, lords and ladies." And then everyone came up to us, and all of the ramparts and all the backstage sections. And I said, "Understand, we are in the middle of shooting Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, which stars our great star Vincent Price." And Vincent's sitting there looking menacing. And I go, "Now, because in this particular film, Vincent is afflicted by acute senses of the hearing," and he covers his ears and looks sheepish. And I say, "We have therefore turned up every mic and are shouting at the top of our lungs," which made everybody burst out laughing. And because it's the whole kind of concept of, oh, you've got a hangover, okay, I'll talk louder, and that kind of thing. And then I said to everybody, "So the main problem is if you even shift your feet, it will be in the soundtrack. So please remain absolutely silent." So we finished shooting the production of The Fall of the House of Usher. Then we went on straight into the film of The Haunted Mansion. And after we had shot that, this is like 2 hours and then 2 hours and then maybe like a half-hour coffee break kind of thing. And then we started straight into what was it? Edgar Allan Poe's Pit and the Pendulum, which with Pit and the Pendulum, we brought on board a wonderful French woman who designs incredible things to exact details. So like she designed the pendulum so that it met exactly my body standards, so that the pendulum would actually stop 1 inch from my belly, just enough to break the blood capsule kind of thing. And I mean, she's a fantastic designer. She did one production in which I'm like encased in moving walls that move right down to like almost the square inch of my body frame. And that was even part of the production somewhere. Absolutely wonderful woman. And, but we had finished the production of The Haunted Mansion, and we were just about to start the production of The Pit and the Pendulum. And I'm walking out on the stage, and I hear Peter somewhere, and off in the distance, and I say, "Peter, I don't have my glasses, you're all fuzz." And he said, "There's a lady that wishes to say goodbye." And she's like, "Oh, can't I stay and watch?" And he's like, "It's film. You can watch it when it's done." And then she said goodbye and left the set. And it turned out that was Lisette. And when I found that out when we were doing later shooting, like I think it was during the production of Conan. And at any rate, after she had left, I walked over and looked at Barbara Steele and said, "Come on, sister, jealousy does not become you." And she started laughing, going, "Well, yeah, I know." And Vincent joined us, and we started laughing about a few jokes. And then Roger said, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I love a good joke, but we got time," so we had to go straight into shooting. And we did many productions with that. England remembers me as Louis from the production with the girls' dormitory. I forget the exact title now. And that brought in Barbara Steele again, with her as one of the main leads of one of the main girls in the dormitory. And it brought us back to working with the wonderful Elizabeth from Tombs of the Lygia. Fantastic actress, absolutely incredible actress. And we did many productions over a very short time span. We did The Oval Portrait, which my grandmother got to play a small part in. She is the drunk who comes in, the drunk house lady who comes in and sits there and says, "Oh, this and that and the other thing," and grabs the brandy and walks off, kind of thing. And she joined us again with the production of, I think it was Dr. Terror's Torture Dungeon. I forget exactly. It's the one with the asylum that they go inside and the inmates are running the asylum. And I'm one of the inmates there, and my grandmother's one of the inmates there. And I mean, we just had an absolute great time. And if you look through some of those productions in very strange ways, you can probably see very big stars doing cameo shots if you look really close, because they were just around and we needed one more person. And we just had so much fun doing it. And it was a blast. It really was. We stepped on stage with the production of The Vampire Lovers. I got to be one of the boys in the band in the beginning section with the dance scene. And I'm actually dancing with Barbara Steele throughout the ballroom. And later on in that shot, I think Lizette Anthony got to be one of the vampire victims. And there were several other productions like that. I can't remember one thing from another. There was one time I was with Lizette and she had taken a plunge into one of the lakes, and I had helped her out of the lake and wrapped her in a coat, and she was shivering and going, "Oh, that film, gotta love it." And Peter Cushing was laughing, and Christopher Lee walked over to her and said, "I like you, lady. I like you a lot. But I'd like you a lot better if you were dating him." And she went, "Oh, the pressure. Oh, the torment. Oh, like it wouldn't be the greatest dream of my life, and if he wasn't an American." But you know, sometimes it's just us. You know, everyone probably wants to know more and more about the stories between me and Lizette. And it's very difficult to talk about because it's the best memories of my life. It really is. It's sometimes just too personal. I could go into some of the backstory of things like Lady Chatterley's Lovers and what happened back set and some of the other productions we did. But it's just more too much of what's actually in my heart to actually talk publicly about. But on the productions, we went film after film after film. We were sleeping on the set and being woken up 6 hours to say, "Okay, have you had enough sleep? Can you perform?" "Yeah, I'm ready to go. Give me a Coke or a Mountain Dew. Let's do this," kind of thing, you know. And we just went crazy. So, you know, the most neat thing about it was more the production of it than actually seeing it. You can see some of these films in things like Pure Terror and Chilling 50 Packs, where they're kind of like out of the way stuck little horror productions where we just went crazy doing it all. I mean, The Long Hair of Death, I think, even got connected to it to some extent. And some of it was wasn't necessarily because it was Edgar Allan Poe, but because we've done everything we were supposed to do. "Okay, Mario, do you have something else? We have too many production companies, too many actors standing around, we need another script," kind of thing. So we just launched straight into something else, and we just had so much fun. And we did so many films in such a short time that it's boggling. It's hard to even just talk about them from that perspective, because one film bleeds into another, which bleeds into another. You know, I keep remembering a production we did with the Flying Polyps based on Lovecraft. I haven't seen it, and I'm not sure if that was a film that was filmed during that time frame that I haven't seen, or if that was part of the Five Gargoyle production. I really couldn't tell you. That happened a couple years later. You know, it was one of those things. But I'm glad we did it. It's some of the best memories of my life. And I want to thank everyone for all the hard work in the productions. And I want to thank all the fans for making the productions available and seeable and enjoying them for what they are. So thank you. One thing I wanted to add, which I have a tendency to forget, I mean, so much happened during the production, or during all of the films that we did back then. But probably one of the funniest stories with the Edgar Allan Poe Fest, we were doing a production with Peter Cushing and several other people on, I think it was Dr. Tarr's Torture Garden. I mean, you've got like 6 films, Dr. Tarr's Torture something. So it's very difficult to remember which is which. But anyway, they strapped me into an electric chair. And I'm going to be electrocuted. And they put a hood over my face. And Peter looks at me and says, now, when I remove the hood, you will see who is going to electrocute you. And I go, okay. And he puts the hood over my face. And then he pulls the hood off, and I'm looking straight at Burgess Meredith. And I burst out laughing. And you know Burgess. Burgess is just an absolute doll. And he sits there. If someone else is laughing, he starts laughing too. And so he finally goes, what are we laughing about? And I said, I get to be electrocuted by the penguin! And he bursts out laughing too. And, you know, we just had an absolute blast. That's probably the greatest memory on earth. I got to be electrocuted by the penguin, of all things. That's just absolutely perfect. You know, so, like I said, you know, we had so much fun doing those films. And I still think, Mother, it's what you want, Mother. It's exactly what you want. So talk to it, Mother. Talk to it. Thanks.